I graduated 41 years ago from law school, but I'm pretty confident. I know that it didn't teach us, and I'm pretty confident that what is missing is creativity, like teaching the actual creative thinking process. Lawyers, to get into law school, you're good at issue identifying and spotting and kind of solving for that, right? But no one is ever sitting down to talk about the things you and I talk about a lot, and the groups that we hang out with a lot, which is like, what are the sort of thinking patterns that you can use to puzzle over?
Welcome to the Renegade Lawyer Podcast, the show where we ask the questions, why aren't more lawyers living flourishing lives and inspiring others? And can you really get wealthy while doing only the work you love with people you like? Many lawyers are. Get ready to hear from your host, Ben Glass, the founder of the law firm Ben Glass Law in Fairfax, Virginia, and Great Legal Marketing, an organization that helps good people succeed by coaching, inspiring, and supporting law firm owners. Join us for today's conversation.
Hello and welcome back to They Don't Teach This in Law School. I'm your host, Charley Mann with Law Firm Alchemy, and today is just an absolute treat. I'm so excited because this episode, not only am I talking with someone who is very important and special in my life, but also who has a big book launch this very day that we are going to insist that you take advantage of. But the truth is, this episode is going to be so packed with interesting ideas and information that you're just going to have to get the book by the end. It's going to be a conversation you wish will have gone on an extra hour. I am overjoyed, delighted. It's just a treat for me this morning to talk with a longtime friend and mentor of mine, Ben Glass. Ben, welcome to the show.
Hey, Charlie. It's fun to be here. Pre-going live, we caught up a little bit with our respective families and goings on in the family, so it's always good to chat with you. We both have growing families and extended families, and so that's fun. Here we are in the middle of
getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and here we are, July. It's hot as all get out, so it's great time to get in the office early and chat with you.
That's right. There we go. Making the occasion even that much better. So, Ben, as always, the leadoff question: what's the one thing they don't teach you in law school?
Yeah, so with the caveat being that, Charlie, I graduated 41 years ago from law school, but I'm pretty confident. I know that it didn't teach us, and I'm pretty confident that what is missing is creativity, like teaching the actual creative thinking process. Lawyers, to get into law school, you're good at issue identifying and spotting and kind of solving for that, right? But no one is ever sitting down to talk about the things you and I talk about a lot, and the groups that we hang out with a lot, which is like, what are the sort of thinking patterns that you can use to puzzle over problems and to reject the little birdie that's saying, well, that won't work in my business, whatever, and to try to just come up with ideas and safe ways to test them, right? So there's, as far as I know, still no courses or even professors who are interested in or know anything about the creative thinking process, which you and I have both found to be invaluable, I think, to our lives. So That's it. Yeah, I doubt anything's changed in 41 years.
So I'm curious, for yourself, that creative thinking journey, was this something that you had innately earlier on and you brought with you through law school, or was this a spark that ignited and a journey you went on after law school?
Well, to some extent. I mean, if you remember the stories, like I was the guy dealing stuff out of my locker in high school, and for anyone who's shocked by that, I grew up playing soccer. This was pre-internet, pre-soccer stores, and I was selling shorts and shoes to my buddies out of the locker. So to a certain extent, there was a spark there for that. I was the guy looking at the back of the comic books where all the cool ads were, right? And actually sending away and ordering how to be the strong man and how to get x-ray glasses and stuff like that. So now, that all being said, I think it certainly exploded when I started hanging out with entrepreneurs. I got out of the lawyer box, although I'm still a full-time practicing attorney, and hang with people you and I hang out with a lot, who are always looking at, all right, what's the unusual here? Could we test it? How will we know, like, if we're right or we're wrong? And then to sort of overcome the fear that you're going to fail a lot, right? we come up with a lot of bad ideas, but that's okay.
That's right. That's right. The creative process is littered with bad ideas, and everyone, can afford themselves that level of grace of it's okay to have a bad idea. It's even okay to put a bad idea out into the world and find out that it's not working, have validated results for yourself, right?
We've proven that over and over again. But we're still here. So, that's the important point. Like, no one's, a lot of people think, especially I talk to young people, they think the whole world's watching them and judging them. Well, nobody's actually watching you. And maybe people are judging you, but it's like 5 of them. And really what we're trying to do is trying to live, as you know, I believe, maximize your gifts, your talents, and your interests, and put your stamp on the world. And part of what we talk about in the book, Dan and I, is just ignoring the critics who are going to be there and who are going to try to pull you back into their world.
Ben, that actually, that's a perfect mention right there, because one of the earliest creative thinking things that I saw from you and that I even modeled in my own life, and I want to spread the gospel on this, was the way that you carved out time in your life for your family, and that you carved out time for you to do things like creative thinking in a fairly radical act of, these days we would refer to it nominally as self-care. I know that you're unafraid of saying selfish in a positive way, because that can allow you to positively affect the world. What was it that shifted for you to make that radical change of, I'm going to do something that in the law is not a common choice?
Yeah, so I think it's a mindset issue, right? It's not feeling guilty about doing that and realizing that, and yes, I do use the word selfish a lot, because you are the racehorse, particularly if you're a business owner, right? You are the racehorse, and if you're not good physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally, all of that, then you're not going to have impact. You're not going to be the best for your employees, for your family. And look, Charlie, just because we say it doesn't mean it's easy. It is not easy being an entrepreneur, being a law firm owner. Many of our law firm owner friends also have ancillary businesses and interests, things that they're good at, and it could be non-business interests, athletics and music, and we know performing artists, right, who are lawyers. But it is saying to yourself and hanging out with people. So the fulcrum, the change was when I started hanging out with people, I go, yes, damn it, that's exactly the way it's supposed to be. Not the other way. Don't ever feel embarrassed or shamed or guilty about maximizing your own life happiness. We don't know how many days we have. Screw it. We just don't. And there's ways. And just about everybody that you and I know who you would look at and who believe they are highly successful and who are highly successful, I think they think like this, right? And so we've proven that this model actually works.
Yeah. So that mindset, that shift that you made, from there, taking that mindset, if you were talking with an attorney right now who goes, Ben, I get it, that idea of carving out for my family, I really want to do it. What are a couple of practical anchors I could use to make that shift?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the example I've always given is that you would be uninterrupted if you were in a deposition. Even if a judge calls you, they ain't getting through to you, you're in a deposition, you're in a trial, whatever, you're uninterrupted. So we know it is actually possible to isolate yourself and not have interruptions, because that's the life we live. We do that. All right, well, now let's just elevate these other things that we have said are important to us. And again, it'll be different. Your list will be different from mine. Billy's list will be different. Susie's list will be different. Okay, whatever it is, just know, we now know that this is possible. All right, and so this tactical strategy is time blocking. I mean, and Dan and I talk about this in the book, and it's saying, okay, these are things that I value highly: reading, vacation, exercise for both of us, things like that. Let's put them on the calendar. And the challenge for most lawyers, Charlie, is they look at their calendar and it's really crowded. Okay, but it's not crowded 6 months. If the first time you can place it is 6 months from now, because your calendar is so screwed up right now, everything else is imposing themselves in your life, okay, go do it. And so go build a perfect day, a perfect week, a perfect month, and you may have to start months down the line. But if you're serious about this, you know that you now know that you can do it, and you go and you will do it. And so Sammy Chong, my mindset coach, okay, you got to take the big rocks. You got to put the big rocks down first. And so that's the tactical thing. The thing I'm good at is to-do list hardly exists at all, right? Because as soon as something makes that list, it has to find a place in the calendar. Kennedy introduced me this in the first edition of No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs. It has to find a place in the calendar. If it doesn't find, if you can't find a place for it, then then you're never going to find a place for it just by trying to jam it in, except by cheating on your family, right? Stealing time from them to put in there. So that's the discipline that, Charlie, that anybody who's listening to this could begin to exercise. Fill your future calendar with the blocks that are perfect for you, and just look around and hang out with people who will support the notion that, yeah, you know what, the world's not going to end.
Yeah, and I'm sure that in doing that exercise, people would look at their calendar and recognize that there's a lot of fluff in it, what I've heard you refer to as the time vampires. So what are some of the common time vampires that you see lawyers allowing to drain them?
Yeah, so Dan wrote about this in the first edition, and then he gave me that chapter. And so you may well recognize some of the people that I write about in the chapter on time vampires. But time vampires can be human beings, right? And they can be things like social media. I mean, social media is like the obvious thing. You look at one cat video, and 40 minutes later, you're deep into 77th cat video.
Cat videos
right?
are still killing time today.
Yeah. So a time vampire is any person or thing that is taking away from you. They're really stealing. Our friend Lee Miltier put this really well a long time ago. She says, we guard our wallets with our lives. Like nobody can, it's hard to come steal my wallet. But we let people and things come in and steal our time. And time is not replaceable, right? Like if that hour is gone, that hour is gone forever. So for example, in the book, we talk about the drop-by artist in the firm who's always like they see the door open, they see your light on, they just drop by just for a moment, or I just have a question. And as a law firm leader, like you have to lead your team and you have to be there for them. But Charlie, there's no rule that says you have to be there for them 24/7 whenever they have a brain fart, okay? And so again, so what do we do? How do we solve for that? Well, let's block time in the week that's open hours if we want to, or an open hour. Like if you've got things you want to talk to me about, great. Make a list, find a time that I've already designated that fits my schedule for people to come walk in, and bring me your list, but bring me 3 potential solutions and your recommendation as to the solution you think we should go with, because that's how you're going to learn if I disagree with that. But now and I know that this is coming, so I can even prepare for it. You say, hey, maybe here's the topics we're going to talk about. I can prepare for that. It goes, same thing as when I read the first edition of the book many years ago, the very first thing I did is I cut off, for all time in my life, unplanned inbound phone calls. So those are time vampires. See, they occur on other people's brain farts. Like, oh, I got to talk to Ben. Well, no, actually, no. Ben's working, and he's not prepared for the call. And so there's no good that can come out of that, right? So, but Charlie, you need to talk to me? Great. If a client or somebody wants to talk to Ben, we can make that happen within 24 to 35 business hours. We can make it happen. Again, we save some time for this. But when that call happens, Charlie, because now you've talked to my assistant, like, here's the agenda, here's my question, I've looked at the document that we're talking about, I'm prepared, you're prepared, and there's 0 phone tag. I haven't had voicemail for 25 years. I never play phone tag with anybody, because if you actually make that appointment, Charlie, and you don't show up, you get put to the way back of the line. Like the next appointment's 3 or 4 weeks away. And that's all about, when we talk about this in the book, valuing your time, like knowing the true value of your time. What we talked about earlier, recognize you're the freaking racehorse. Like the reason these people have jobs and the reason these clients are getting their legal problems solved is because of you, like the law firm leader. Let's just be arrogantly confident about that. Anyone who disagrees, like, come on my podcast, let's discuss that. Right? But then the world just goes right. And Charlie, when I went to the no unplanned inbound phone calls, like my whole team told me that wasn't going to work. Like that's going to be impossible. People will never put up with it. I don't have any issues. People appreciate it, even defense lawyers, judges. Again, if a judge tried to call you while you're in a deposition, he's not getting through. So why not plan it?
Yeah. So Ben, the thing that I can hear an audience member right now, someone who's listening to this thinking is, well, that's Ben, who's been graduated from law school for 41 years, has successful businesses, has the resources and everything. And here I am, I'm sitting at doing $400,000 a year. I've got 2 team members. I feel like I've got so much going on. This sounds impossible. I think the dirty little secret that it's not really a secret is at one point you had a firm like that and you were still starting to make radical decisions. For that person who's sitting back at that point, who is decades earlier in the journey from where you are today, what advice do you have for that person?
Yeah, so if my question back to them would be, are you happy? and if the answer is yes, fine. But if the answer is no, my next question would be, do you want to change? Commit to me that you want to make a change. Okay. The next thing would be, I think, the very first tactic would be, and I engage in this still, Charlie, is like, give yourself 2-3 hours, like, go away. Take a pad. Don't even take a device. You don't need a device to do this. Take a pad and just start to think about all of the things that you are responsible for doing. If you can't do that, track your time. The Lee Miltier taught us, like, track your time for a week. That's too hard. Track your time for 2 days. You'll go crazy, right? Every 15 minutes, what am I actually doing? All right, well, you want to be like, you're a $400,000 top line revenue. You want to be a 7-figure top line revenue. Great. We got to get rid of all the $10 jobs that you're doing right now, right? And then understand this. See, again, everything's a mindset problem. For Ben, everything's a mindset problem, right? Is we think, well, no one could do it as good as I could. The client wants me. They called me. All that. And we've proven this objectively to be wrong. Know that for everything that either you don't like doing or is well below your pay grade, there's somebody in the world, emphasis on in the world, right, who would thrive on that work. They may be local. They may be in your office. They may be, as you and I both have, executive assistants who are sitting in the Philippines working our time. We have now 5 Philippine-based employees for the law firm, and it's a total win-win relationship, right? They make more money working for us than they would in the local economy. They get to learn from people like us, people like you, right? So they're getting this exposure to business that they likely would not get. It's a total win-win. But that's where I would start. So I'm the guy or gal who's sitting at 400K, and I've answered the question, no, Ben, I'm not really happy. Like, this isn't what I went to law school for. All right, then you have to make a commitment to change. And that commitment starts with letting go of the vine. And then there's ways, and I talk about this in the book, there's ways to bring your team up to speed. Like, no one could talk to a client as well as I can. Oh, solve that problem. Have your team sit in every freaking client call you do. Have your team sit in on the speakerphone and listen. How does Ben talk to this person? Today, all of our calls are recorded, and today they're run through AI and summarized, and so the team you have all sorts of resources to teach your team. I will tell you, like, I hardly ever talk to clients. I do a certain level of high-level consulting to doctors and entrepreneurs about disability claims, but actually the day-to-day talking to clients, we have built this team. And so yes, today, Charlie, yes, we have this team. But I started incrementally doing things that Dan Kennedy wrote about in the first edition of No BS Time Management. And because my life is different from Dan's in that I've got multiple employees, I've got a big family, like, he's always been very aware of that. That's why he asked me to come in on this 4th edition and to add some new perspective, right? And we're writing for the entrepreneur. Cal Newport has this great new book called, what's it?
Picture the Outdoors.
Yeah. Hold on, I wrote it down. Slow Productivity. Like, it's awesome, except for entrepreneurs cannot engage in slow productivity. We have to make things happen today, right? And so we don't have that luxury. And so No BS Time Management is just filled with the philosophy. Dan said in a recent newsletter, and I think you get this newsletter, he says, when you read this, you may be surprised to see that Gentle Ben, he called me, is much more aligned with Ruthless Dan than most people think. So you have this philosophical belief that, yes, you were born to lead and you are important to the world.
Hey guys, this is Ben. If you like what you've been hearing on this podcast, not just the marketing and practice building strategies, but the philosophy of the art of living your best life parts, you should know that my son Brian and I have built a tribe of like-minded lawyers who are living lives of their own design and creating tremendous value for the world within the structure of a law practice. We invite you to join us at the only membership organization for entrepreneurial lawyers that is run by 2 full-time practicing attorneys. Check us out at greatlegalmarketing.com.
All right. And now we're going to sort of objectively, like, where do I want to get, what is the value of my time? And Dan's written a great chapter on that. And then we just give strategy after strategy of how to maximize this for yourself. And a lot of it is building a great team. And again, today, with the advent of, technology and these companies that are just helping match up people like you and me, Charley, to people around the world. And again, they could be in your office, and they could be in, Central America, who are great. Our experiences are great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's amazing that change in resources between starting the firm in 1995 and now we're nearly at 2025. The change in resources and what is available, going from say local with some vendor to literally worldwide labor pool, is a massive game changer. And you have a whole chapter in the book about firing yourself, which you started talking a little bit about. And that's a challenge that I know you and I have seen, especially with firm owners who are, say, getting up towards that $1 million mark. And they're getting to that point of, I'm going to need to bring on another couple of attorneys to open up the ability to service more client matters. And they run into this point of, and you start talking about it, but how do I bring on an attorney who's going to do this as well as me? You know what? I'm just going to handle everything myself. And they get stuck at this point. That area, that I'm the best thing. Getting into the pragmatic nature of mindset of when you encountered those moments of, I'm the best at it. Was there something that you would tell yourself or that you would go to as a resource to intellectually handle that and get to the mindset that you did?
Well, so my resource on that was Sammy Chong, my mindset coach now for probably over a decade. And Sammy basically says, I don't know, that might be BS. But we'll never really know until we, in Sammy's words, ask the universe. And so here's the thing, Charley, you and I both know you can grind your way to about 7 figures for sure. I think at sacrifice to self, sacrifice in a bad way, sacrifice of family, sacrifice of health, those sort of things. And for some people, that's fine. Again, we're not trying to tell people, I never tell people how to live their lives. But if they want to, if they answer the question, are you happy? And they say, no, I'm not happy. Like, I do have some ideas about how to become happy. But if you want to get past that 7-figure mark, you are most certainly going to need to build a team. I was talking to a fellow yesterday, and it's a growing personal injury practice, the west side of the country, but still he's the only lawyer. And the marketing is working, he's getting more cases, he's got a team, but his next, and we were talking about how do I get more cases? I'm like, you don't need more cases. You need to start building a team, and you need a lawyer. And so there's 2 things that people think about, Charley. One pertinent really to this conversation, which is the mindset part. Are they going to do it as good as I can? And then the other is the compensation plan part. So many people are fearful of, I'm going to pay, 80 or 100K or whatever it is, for an associate lawyer. That's a lot of money, but you don't have to pay it all on Monday, right? And so figuring out, and that's where your work and our work comes in is really important, because what you and I are good at is teaching lawyers, this mindset part, but then here's systems that are proven now and processes that are proven, and then assembling groups of lawyers, Charley, who will push you, as you and I have both been running masterminds and in masterminds, right? Where other members and maybe the person at the head of the table running the group are pushing you to go, look, I've seen this before. Yes, it's going to be a little bit stressful. Yes, sure, you could fail, but it's not likely. It's just not likely that you're going to fail at this. And so let us help you find that next lawyer. I think that's important. And then the other thing is, when you get really good at this, the search is not for someone who could do it as good as me. The search is for someone who's better than I am. And that's ego. So our friend Craig Goldenfarb down in Florida, he's brilliant at this. So he's surrounded himself with lawyers who are really, really good lawyers. And there's a number of other people that are running sort of big practices, PI practices, who haven't handled a case, don't want to handle a case, and have no fear about not being the guy in the courtroom handling the case. And yet they're serving the world, they're making money, their employees make money, and their clients are well served. So like, what's wrong with that picture? Nothing.
Yeah, you end up creating a job as well for someone who would love to be in a firm that is generating robust, high-value cases that they get to work up, whether it's strategic planning for a high-net-worth individual or serious car accident matter or a difficult divorce that someone's going through. You create that as the entrepreneur at the head of the firm. You create space for others to also live out a dream.
And when you do that better than all the bar associations and their stupid CLEs. I mean, seriously, like come work for some of the lawyers that you and I coach and have coached. Like, come work for those guys and gals. Better than 3 years in law school. Honestly, you'll learn more.
Yeah, as you've seen for a long time, as I've seen as well, the practical side of what it takes to apply the law to help a client's life, it's not completely divergent from law school, but it's not a one-to-one match between those two places. People need experience in a firm where you have an owner who, by the way, is not buried in a caseload, but has the time to take care of the people and to lead the people and actually to build leaders. So that's another thing that I'm curious about, kind of doing a little stages thing here. If you got that $400,000, you got that short of $1 million, but then you've got, say, that $2-3 million firm owner. And one of the things that they're having trouble with is establishing leaders. They want to still make all of the decisions, and that can be a huge time vampire. So talk to me about that stage of the journey for a firm owner.
Yeah, so that is, I think, one of the more challenging spaces, because you and I have talked about this a lot. It's like the lawyers who get you there by providing the legal services really well, who can go and do the technical legal, and you need them, came from law school. So they're often not the folks who can, quote, be the leader of the next generation or the next move up the revenue ladder. And so firms that have done this really well, creative thinking, so why does that person need to be a lawyer? Why does my law firm leader need to be a lawyer? Like right now, it's still, in most places, you can't be an owner without being a lawyer. I think that's going to change. But there's no rule that says you can't have well-compensated non-lawyer leaders. Now, they could be lawyers, but again, that skill set of being a great technical lawyer, whether it's defending people in court or representing them as a plaintiff or helping you build your next business enterprise, like that's not necessarily a leadership skill. And so again, talking about what they don't teach in law school, like teaching law firm owners how to identify leaders. And that's why people like our friend Bill Biggs, that he's carved out this space in the legal world, in the plaintiff's contingent fee legal world, of I can help you to identify and develop your next generation of leaders. But I will tell you that is a big challenge because, again, most of us, Charlie, at the firms that we coach, like you don't have a lot of experience. You don't have a lot of at-bats, right? Hormozy, like you don't have a lot of reps of bringing on leadership and growing leaders. And so it's a very small numbers game. If you miss, you miss badly. It's not to say you shouldn't try. But so here's the thing for that. My argument is when you're at the 800 to 1 million to 3 million, like some of the conferences, at least some of the conferences you should be going to, are the conferences of the guys that are doing 50 million and 200 million.
Right.
Like just go to those conferences and be curious. I mean, the marketing's the same. The intake is the same. The numbers are bigger. But the development of leaders is different, and it's something that, frankly, we just don't have enough at-bats to be really expert. But I think that some of these events, if I was going to them, and I do, like that's what I'm looking for, is that leadership question. It's a tough one.
Yeah, And it's interesting that at-bats thing, because what I also hear is you giving permission to people to still step up to bat, knowing that no one bats 1,000 when it comes to leadership. You will fail at leadership. And you're right, it is a smaller set, but what are you going to do? Not try, right?
Yeah, and the other thing you can do, we talk about this a lot, is you could run, like we run EOS traction, so with a coach, and so that is the Ben Glass solution at this part of the journey for growing the firm with the people that we have by improving the business operating system. So again, the book will be Traction or Get a Grip, actually, and EOS or Entrepreneur Operating System would be the program to just check out and see if it's right for you. Yeah. But being in a room, being in a room with your mastermind group, our mastermind groups, and there's a bunch of people that are running, a bunch of quality people running good groups. I think what you want to look for is who else is in the group. You don't want to be the smartest one in the group. You don't want to be the highest revenue producer in the group. You want to be in a group that's going to pull you up. And I've done that. That's something I've done pretty well in terms of me being in groups and investing in myself as you have invested in yourself in groups that make you uncomfortable.
Oh yes. As a last little thing here, because you had touched on it earlier and we didn't dig into it, but I know you go into it in the book. There is a technology side. We talk about resources, people-wise, having changed over the last 30 years. Certainly technology has changed over the last 30 years. So I'm curious for you and the firm, because I've always appreciated, Ben, your combination of old school, let's bust out the legal pad, something that I love,
right.
But also
I'm laughing.
You're not afraid of technology either.
I'm
right?
laughing because the discussion that Dan and I had was, will you write the technology chapter of the book? And I'm like, okay, but my technology chapter is that the leader isn't the one running the technology. So
that's an important note.
Yeah, yeah. So Slack, I don't have Slack. I don't have Office email on my phone. I have my Gmail only because I get soccer referee assignments through that. My phone does not beep, buzz, ding, vibrate, or anything, which frustrates my family, but that's just the way I choose it to be. I don't have Slack. They took away my lead docket license, right? Now the firm, so the technology, so in the last 24 months, the firm invested a lot in technology. And what we wanted to do better, Charlie, was match up our marketing spend with, accountability, like what dollars out, we're bringing dollars in. And so getting everything to talk to, for us, Case Peer and lead docket, and our marketing director, Lauren, has done a great job with getting all that software to talk to each other. So my personal tech stack is not that big. My personal tech stack now is I have a full-time 40-hour executive assistant in the Philippines who I send a Loom video to and say, make this happen for me, please, and put it on my calendar, and it happens, right? And now I've always been curious, as you know, about technology, and certainly in terms of the decision-making of what to get for the firm, yeah, but then they don't let me, I don't touch it too much. And I think that is a place where you can that can be a time vampire, right? So getting someone to run the technology and get you the reports that you need, important. You being the one to know how to go into SEMrush or something like that to figure out what pages or have a high bounce rate or whatever it is you're looking at. Probably not so much. That's a time vampire. Yeah, it's interesting, but it could be a big suck. Pay for expertise on that, I would say.
That note right there of it can be interesting is such a perfect encapsulation of the idea of the time vampire, of not the one that the big overt one, the person, like you said, the drive-by artist, the who comes in and interrupts. We all can see that one, but it's so hard to see oh, you know what? I was tinkering on FileVine for the last 3 hours. I didn't change anything, but I sure tinkered in FileVine.
Yeah, look what I found. It'll do this. We should start this policy yesterday, and I'm like, no, that's not how you make decisions about this stuff.
Oh my goodness. So Ben, if people, first off, I will give the heartiest of recommendations that people go out and purchase No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs, Dan Kennedy and Ben Glass. So if people want to go and get their hands on that, where can they find it?
Well, I think so. It gets released on Amazon on August 13, and that's going to be the best place to go, I think, and get it the quickest. The last book Dan published just a couple months ago, it sold out very, very quickly, and Amazon was embarrassed because they could not deliver overnight. So I think like that'll be the easiest place to go to get it. It is the 4th edition. I was really excited, Charlie, to be invited in to add a perspective that Dan admittedly, like, this is a place where Ben is going to be able to explain some things to entrepreneurs running small and medium-sized biz across the country. And because I'm a lawyer and my lawyer friends will see the imprint in there, it's a book that really every lawyer running a firm of our size, solo or small firm, should have in their library, because it's filled, and read it, yeah. Right? It's filled with practical advice. And then, reach out. If you got questions, like, I'm not sure how I can make this work to me, reach out. I like to help people. I've got time slots open, and Claire, my executive assistant, will help us get together. Or if enough people want to know, we'll run a webinar or something.
And if you want to connect farther with Ben, there will be all the good links in the description below.
Yeah.
Make sure that you go and check out Ben Glass Law, Great Legal Marketing, connect with Ben on social media. So, and definitely get the book. And by the way, I'll recommend, as someone who had that book handed to me by you, Ben, I will recommend grab this book for key members of your team, or even your entire team. It is among the books that you can easily distribute to team members and have them take some practical stuff from it.
Yeah.
This would be very high up.
Yeah, and if someone on your team looks at it and goes, "Oh my gosh, like, I hate this stuff," then that's probably an indication that they're not really good for you. I mean, maybe they should be running their own business, which is fair, right? But if you are philosophically aligned, you might as well have your team read it.
All right, Ben, one last little triple part question for you. What are you reading, watching, and listening to these days?
So I'm listening to, one of my favorite podcasts is the one that Guy Sakalakis and Conrad Sam do, Lunchtime Marketing for Lawyers.
Lunch Hour Legal
Marketing. That's very practical advice. This summer, boy, I have a stack at home. So I'm reading right now. This is you'll appreciate this. So there was a book a decade or so ago called the Everything Store and it was about Amazon. So there's a hit piece out this summer called the Everything War, and it's a hit piece on Amazon. Now, my look at it is it's actually a model to how to run a business, and if you just read it and knock out all the editorializing in it, that you'll see, like, no, this actually makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, you should dominate a market. Reading, watching, listening to. Let's see, I don't know. We Sandy and I binge watched. I guess right now we're watching the Euros and we're watching Copa America. Not we, Ben, because no one else in my family sits down to watch it. But it is the summer of soccer, as my Fubo app says. The summer of soccer. They have a special tag for that. So that's what
There's been some thrillers.
There's been good games. That's the only live sports that I will sit down and watch. Right.
Will you catch any of the Olympics coming up?
Yeah. So if there's live soccer and other. Let's see, it's in France, so even the live stuff could be like live, and you don't have to get up in the middle of the night. So absolutely, yeah, it's up. I don't know. There was something the other night, Charlie, and like, how could that be a sport? And I forget. It wasn't skateboarding. It was something else that was really. I'm like, that's not.
Dancing?
Maybe it was like that's not Olympic.
They have
sport.
break dancing in the Olympics now, Ben. They have break dancing in the Olympics.
Yeah. So no, I'm like the sprinters, the team sports, like that's the cool stuff. Pole vaulters, like that's cool stuff.
Oh, well, if you're interested in that, I will quickly recommend the documentary 6-part series Sprint on Netflix, which is all about the 100-meter and 200-meter runners going up through the World Championships in 2023 in Budapest. And it is electrifying to watch them run, but also fascinating from a mindset perspective to see the way that they think about developing themselves as champions.
I'll add that to the list. Yeah, I think those are important documentaries.
Among my favorite. Well, Ben, thank you so
Thanks,
much
Charlie.
for your time here. It was a treat. Everyone, please go get No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs, Dan Kennedy and Ben Glass. It's going to be exceptional.
My pleasure. All right. Talk later.
We'll see you all in the next episode of They Don't Teach This in Law School.
If you like what you just heard on the Renegade Lawyer Podcast, you may be a perfect fit for the great legal marketing community. Law firm owners across the country are becoming heroes to their families and icons in their communities. They've gone renegade by rejecting the status quo of the legal profession so they can deliver high-quality legal services coupled with top-notch customer service to clients who pay, stay, and refer. Learn more at greatlegalmarketing.com. That's greatlegalmarketing.com.